All right, can you imagine living in a town with only one road and 24 homes? Crazy. Many parts of the Northland and the Iron Range are home to rich iron ore deposits. In 1950s, mining made way for new development on Lake Superior's North Shore.
And tonight, in part one of our special series, Fox 21's Brett Scott takes us to an abandoned town along Highway 61.
It was really a bustling area. There was also a wood products industry here at the time, besides the tourism industry.
If you take a trip up Highway 61 along the North Shore of Minnesota, history whispers in the waves.
As a kid, we could go down and watch them build the plant. We could watch them take out the rock. You see the old cranes loading the trucks.
With every scoop, inches of an industry being built.
For me, it was great. I mean, I was a kid. I was like in 6th grade, 7th grade.
Skip Lamb
It took 6 train loads to load this.
knows many secrets of this land near Schroeder.
They had to build the cofferdams. They had to remove tons of rocks to get the 30-foot depth so that ships could come in.
Sites
A couple days later, they filled it up. There were 24 homes here, 24 families.
this native Northlander will never forget.
My father took me on a trip to the bottom of Taconite Harbor when the cofferdams had kept out Lake Superior so they could excavate the rock.
The town of Taconite Harbor. Chances are mention of the name doesn't ring a bell for many.
We had 500 plus trailers down here at Taconite Harbor. They had a whole village at Taconite Harbor.
A village with a view.
Yeah, it was great fun to be a kid here. Plus, you know, you're only 2 steps from the wilderness.
Brandon Drive was home to 24 homes built by Erie Mining. Back in the day, hundreds called this area home. Now there are no more traces of taconite to be found in this ghost town.
Most of this follows the steel market. So when the steel market crashes, they cut back on taconite production. When the steel market is enhanced and there's big demand, obviously the demand for taconite goes back up.
With a price tag of $300 million, Erie Mining Company ramped up shipping production after completing construction in 1955. Taconite shipped to the shore from a Hoyt Lakes facility.
At the time I would work in the store, this was also a store. These would be some of the original posters that were put up in the early 50s.
Skip now stands in history at the Cross River Heritage Center
Is only about 30% higher.
along Highway 61.
In the morning, I would wait here for the bus and sell cigarettes and gloves.
Selling to the newcomers of the taconite town.
Taconite is still a boom and bust, and steel is still a boom and bust industry.
Year after year, the mining industry continued on its fickle future. Taconite Harbor reached its peak in 1981, producing 200 million tons of taconite per year. But it wasn't always fun in the filth.
We lost the families that lived here.
In 1986, the boomtown quickly started turning into a ghost town. Hundreds of folks forced to move as demand for steel declined, and Erie Mining sold to LTV Steel.
Once all of this downsizing started and they basically sold the 24 homes and moved them away, they took those 24 families out of this Schroeder-Tofte community.
25 miles down the road,
I moved to the area in 1979.
coming to Silver Bay back in the day for work.
If you total it up for various projects.
37 years later, Scott Johnson
And it was like a Alaska pipeline up here.
is the mayor of this neighboring boomtown.
Silver Bay is a wonderful place to raise a family, the opportunities for kids and the education.
Much like Taconite Harbor, Silver Bay was built for business.
We had not ever really thought of leaving the area.
But it wasn't the future plan for many. Reserve Mining Company pushed into the North Shore wilderness in the early 1950s.
I worked at the plant for about 6 to 9 months when I was in college and I ran out of money.
Hiring on at the plant in a pinch. At the time, the mine employed nearly 4 times as many employees as it does now, only 60 years later.
In 1986, the plant went bankrupt and essentially went out of business, and that was absolutely devastating.
The demand for steel once again taking a tumble.
People people just left in droves, some never to be seen again, or rarely seen.
30 years of hard work and dedication, shipping over 200 million tons of taconite from shore.
1 in 3 homes was for sale, foreclosed, or abandoned. Reserve Mining, of course, built the town.
Mayor Johnson remembers seeing the town change quickly. Many forced to find new sources of income as they continued to raise families. Others leaving the land for good.
People that have been around, we are used to the ups and downs.
Well, mining operations have kept northeastern Minnesota alive for decades, and it is no easy task.
Tonight in our special report, Back in the Day, Fox 21's Brett Scott takes you to one city by the bay, still thriving after 6 decades in the mining industry, but not without facing a lot of challenges along the way.
When I was little on the farm, I didn't know very many people because there wasn't many people here. We lived there with while we raised our family.
Jenny Hansen
I lived here before Silver Bay did.
is a North Shore native.
He worked in yards and docks. We used to laugh at our little school and say if nobody else came along, we'd be marrying our cousins.
A joyful joke quickly turning around with the building of Reserve Mining Company.
I lived up where the golf course is.
A family homestead passed down by Grandma and Grandpa.
Our family moved down on the shore into a little house that was already bought by Reserve.
Although Taconite Harbor eventually closed up shop, the city of Silver Bay was just getting started.
My dad always said, stay no higher than the top of that hill, because if you get down below there, it's all solid woods and you're going to get lost. And that's where this town is.
Originally known as Town Site,
It was a good blueberry picking.
before the boom turned it into Silver Bay.
I know that some of the farmers and stuff inland were approached first because they had the biggest pieces of land.
Reserve Mining quickly purchasing from locals.
And Reserve built these schools here. It was kind of exciting to see a town being built where there used to be a big valley and some good hunting grounds.
Many newcomers moving in from the eastern coast.
It was kind of neat. The golf course was the Betzler farm.
Jenny remembers many Pennsylvanians relocating for the mine and the money.
To move into new houses that nobody'd ever lived in and drive on streets that had no cracks or holes or you know, everything was new.
We had a large family and the money was good. You're up on a blank.
Lillian Miller
Up on a 2.
and her husband moved to the Bay back in 1957.
That's right. We raised 13 kids in here.
A good life in a 3-bedroom home. At the time, homes were selling fast with a price tag of $8,000. The average monthly payment, $60.
They came one at a time and what do you say? You know, move over, you got a brother coming to sleep with you and that's it.
We bought a home here. The rest is just how life happens.
Rocky Taconite moved to Silver Bay back in 1964. He was built to welcome visitors to the city and also symbolize the importance of taconite in the area.
We never got rich, but we had a good living.
Hundreds living life in a company town.
We lived payday to payday, and Jim always found extra work. When the big strike was on, he went out to Indiana and cut brush and stuff, and we managed.
Managing until the mining roller coaster took a downward spiral. Reserve Mining filed bankruptcy in 1986. After 3 years of struggling, Cypress Mining opened the operation back up in 1989. Owner Cleveland Cliffs now runs the downsized operation after purchasing in 1994.
Some came and were here for a year, and some came and are still here.
This is my home. And I know how these old people feel when they don't want to leave their home, because I don't want to leave my home. Living is cheap up here, so no reason I shouldn't stay. I won.
For Jenny and Lillian,
the strikes and so forth.
Growing up in a town with such purpose provides passion to stay for life.
We always are knocking on wood.
A stern knock toward the next step in mining news.
If you have an hour of need, these people will step up and take care of you.
Taking care of one another until control is uncontrollable.
This latest one was very scary because we didn't see an end to it, and our legislators stepped up to the plate, including the president, and started enforcing tariffs.
For the residents of Silver Bay, production continues for pellets. As for Taconite Harbor, only eagles continue to soar, bringing some life to this desolate company town.
The community is a wonderful place to be.
In Silver Bay with photojournalist Adam Jaganich, Brett Scott, KQDS Fox 21.
And Mayor Johnson tells Fox 21 that the city still receives financial assistance from the Cliffs Foundation. He says the recent opening of a popular destination known as Black Beach is bringing more revenue into that city. In the future, Johnson hopes to see more businesses boom in the company town.